Okay, so I have this video. Let's see if we can hear it.
I'm Tim Ventura from AmericanAntiGravity.com, and I'm speaking today with John Bloomer, CEO of Diskcraft Corporation, entering the disc-shaped Space Tourist launch vehicle in the X-Prize competition. Well, John, first things first, I'd be remiss not to mention that your spacecraft, the Space Tourist, looks suspiciously like a UFO. It's a beautiful disc-shaped design, and I'd say the most innovative flight platform being entered in the contest. Can you tell me, can you tell me just a bit about why you went with a circular planform?
Well, I have done, maybe 35 years of research on aircraft design. I'm a former Lockheed, Boeing, North American, Northrop, and Douglas engineer at one time or another in the past, and got very seriously interested in aircraft design, and the flying saucer type of configuration turns out to be by far the best approach to aircraft design to beat the airplane and the helicopter simultaneously. It turns out that if you consider the space that's wasted in the airplane, all the empty space between the fuselage and the wing, and if you fill that space in, like in this craft of mine, which is shaped like a flattened coolie hat, Chinese coolie hat. It has a peak at the center and flattens down to a circular rim. Turns out that filling in we can very advantageously fill in the space and have a craft that is no bigger than an airplane, but has far more capability. It's far safer, it's far stronger, and it is even peculiarly appropriate to suborbital flight, which is what I designed it for. I designed it for the X-Prize competition for suborbital flight for space tourism.
Absolutely. Well, the circular shape gave you some unique design options, and one of the real innovations in this design has been the engine. Can you tell us a bit about the engine that you'll be using?
Yes, this is the so-called blast wave engine. Dr. Lockwood here in Oregon was the man who greatly improved the blast wave engine. It's a U-shaped thing. It's a pulse jet, very simple, no moving parts. It has a burner, and essentially it was invented by a Frenchman named Marconnet, Marconnet, in France back in 1912. Lockwood picked it up and drastically improved it. It has a very low fuel consumption, only about twice as much as a conventional jet plane today. A jet airliner today has only about twice as good, or maybe less than twice as good as fuel consumption. So the pulse jet, of course, was first introduced by the Germans in World War II in their so-called buzz bomb, which had terrible fuel consumption. This is a greatly improved design. Very, very simple, no moving parts, very inexpensive, but it takes up a lot of space. Boeing has looked at it and turned it down, and I presume the reason was that it takes up so much space, it's totally plane. And of course, Boeing is only interested in building airplanes, so they rejected it. But it's ideal for a flying saucer or circular planform configuration.
Absolutely. Well, the old German buzz bomb had some real problems with the reed valves degrading during operation, but since yours doesn't have any moving parts, you've managed to dodge that.
For example, yes, that was one of the worst problems of the German buzz bomb.
Yeah, I've actually seen Lockwood pulse jets on the internet. Several people have actually built very small models, so it's great to see a larger version coming out. Although they are loud, aren't they?
They are very loud. Ray Lockwood's son has demonstrated them for us, some of us here in Portland, and it was a fairly small model, maybe only 3 or 4 feet in overall size, but it was very noisy. We were wearing earmuffs, and I still had for problems after several days. It was very loud.
Absolutely.
But the noise can be overcome. There are ways to do that, and it's still going to be one of the most efficient engines ever designed.
Sure.
But it's totally inappropriate to the airplane. Of course, it's even more inappropriate to the helicopter. Consequently, for a circular planform craft, it's ideal.
Well, one of the most popular disc-shaped craft that most people are aware of was the 1950s Avro car, but it suffered from stability problems from air pileup under the wing surface. Have you had to overcome any challenges with stability? And if so, what was your solution?
Well, yes, the stability is the most important consideration that I addressed in researching and ending up with the circular platform. The stability of the Aerocar was incredibly bad. I don't understand why so much money was spent on it, because any amateur aeronautical engineer would have spotted the problem from the word go. It had its center of mass at its geometrical center, but for longitudinal true stability, your center of gravity has to be ahead of the aerodynamic center, and the aerodynamic center for a wing is 25% of the way back from the leading edge on the principal chord. Consequently, the Aerocar had to be totally unstable, and I talked to the test pilot. His name was Alan Knight. I talked to him in Palo Alto back in 1969, I think. And he explained to me that he got it going up to about 30 miles an hour, and the nose started coming up. He gave it full nose down control power, and the nose still kept coming up, which is exactly what any amateur engineer would have predicted. And then he shut it down and stepped out of it and walked away from it and said, "Find yourself another test pilot. This damn thing is dangerous."
Yeah. Well, even in the flight tests where it wasn't moving forward, you could see the air pile up, and it's kind of sloshing around on it a little bit. Again, that saucer shape tends to just kind of rotate, even if it's sitting still a little bit. So, well, I guess the big question here is money. Some of your X Prize competition are being sponsored by big name financiers, and others are pulling together more of a community effort to raise funds. How much will your design cost to build, and have you been able to find sponsors to cover the cost?
Well, no, I haven't. I haven't looked too hard, but as a matter of fact, I've been expecting that some of these sponsors would come forward and want to talk to me after they understood what the difficulties are with the X Prize entries that have been put in, including returns. Essentially, these things are a little bit scary. To me, they're quite a bit scary. I wouldn't put foot in any. They frighten me. I want something big and stable and super stable and super strong, and none of them are that. I really don't understand why the big sponsors are going for any of these designs, because they look to me frightening. And of course, I'm not a test pilot. A test pilot might be interesting, but to an average citizen who wants to buy a ride into space, I would think he'd be frightened to death.
Yeah, definitely. Well, when we spoke last night, I was surprised to learn that you're a big fan of electrogravitic technology. Now, your X Prize vehicle is just using a pulse jet, but are you keeping an open mind towards eventually replacing the engine with some kind of electrogravitic drive?
Oh, totally open. In fact, I am very pro electrogravitics. I'm very pro the advances in technology that will occur when we get around to applying the technology we already have. But in the meantime, amateurs like ourselves are coming up with the same technology, and sooner or later, the public is going to become aware that there is a vast improvement in technology available. Free energy is almost in front of us. The flying saucers quote that from outer space that we've been talking about for 50 years, some of them, of course, are right here, but essentially they're using a kind of energy which is far beyond anything that we use concurrently publicly. They couldn't be using anything that we're aware of in terms of energy in the public domain.
Sure.
Because they have far greater performance. It's impossible to conceive of how they could perform as they do technology and energy freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, another engine question for the pulse jet. The Lockwood is an air-breathing engine, but when you reach maximum altitude, you'll effectively be in space. Are you going to have to bring an oxidizer on board to run the engine at those altitudes, or is there still enough atmosphere to provide thrust?
Well, my calculations indicate that we can get up to Mach 10 within enough of the atmosphere to provide a sufficient amount of oxygen. After that, you're boosting on a parabolic arc to 63 miles high, which is the limit that X Prize has stipulated, and then that's the peak of your parabolic arc, and then you coast back, and then once you're back in the atmosphere, of course, sufficient amount of atmosphere, you can have a sufficient amount of type of